GM, Hot Takes and Cold Wallets, episode number 14. We got a special guest today, Serpentax, CEO of Ethos Networks. Good morning.
Hello.
We also got Nikita and Juan, the guys at Chain Patrol, and you guys are gonna fill us in for what's good with Chain Patrol, what happened since we spoke last week.
Yeah, it's been a really great week last week. Our last session was actually from team offsite that we did. It was a really good time. We're a very remote team. We have people contributing and trying to keep users safe all around the world. We have developers, ops members, salespeople all around the world, and some of us we literally saw in person for the first time ever at this retreat that we did. So that was a really good time. And then it was really important, honestly, to like one thing that we really were talking to everybody is that we're not really just building a company here to build a product and make some money, but we need to have like an adversarial mindset. There's scammers, there's hackers that we're constantly battling against, and bringing that kind of like adversarial mindset to the team was really important. That Servant, maybe you probably see some of this a bit as well with the work that you're doing, but you really need to be proactive about many things that people are trying to do to kind of get around the system and trick it. It's a little bit different when you're doing with security or reputation. You're not just building a product. You need to think about how are people going to try and squeak their way around the system that you built, and have a very adversarial mindset. So yeah, that was some of the things we were trying to instill in the team during the offsite.
Any updates from you, Juan? Anything you want to contribute?
No, definitely. I think the team offsite was really nice. It was the first time we did something like this in Chain Patrol, so definitely it was great to meet a lot of people that you may be talking every single day, but you don't know in person. So that's definitely something good. I really enjoyed. I think it was really nice to sync up with the team and also getting the same mindset of what is like 2026 and 2027 going to be for Chain Patrol and all the different challenges that we had. So definitely was great experience. And yeah, we just recently came back to our places 1 day ago. So still setting it up after like the conferences and all of that. So definitely good to be home as well.
It's gonna be a great episode. Like Serpent, he silently turned me into an Ethos maxi because literally, like, I can't use X anymore without using Ethos. Like in parallel, it's like impossible to do so. And I think this is something that you kind of like expected when you were building the product or that you were envisioning for it. But if we take a step back first, like in crypto, you can't like know who you're talking to really. So we never have the chance to verify, hey, is this a human that I'm talking to? Hey, is this actually like Nikita? Is the Nikita guy I'm talking to legit? Because I still remember when Nikita hit my DMs in 2022, I guess, and I kind of ignored him for 1.5 years or something. And he was kind of reaching out like, hey, I like the security work you're doing. And here we are doing a space, hosting a space together, which is pretty insane to me.
Yeah, we reunited after a long time.
So basically, like the slop super cycle is here, and Ethos is trying to tackle this, Serpent. You build like a social credibility layer for people in Web3, and if people never heard of Ethos yet, you can think about it like in Yelp, for example, for Web3 accounts, basically. So what problem made you realize you need to do something like Ethos, or you need to create something like Ethos?
Yeah, I mean it's how we all have always interacted with each other in Web3, which is not in the most kind of ways, and often in easy to get scammed ways. Like there are so many instances that have happened before Ethos existed of people abusing the fact that we didn't have a way to understand who is who. They took advantage of the fact that they could create a pseudonym, create a project, rug pull the project, and run away forever. And so our philosophy has been, well, we're effectively in the Wild West. We've always heard people say stuff like that, right? It's the 1880s, the 1890s. And it's true. It is more reasonable and profitable today to be the guy that robs trains or robs banks than the like, normal family house guy, like the guy that sticks around the house and makes a living. And because of that, in Web3, what you see is this negative impact across the entire industry. In fact, I think it's the number one thing holding us back right now. It's the perception of crypto, it's the perception of people who build in crypto, and it's just a lack of trust across the entire space. So I'd like to think that we tried to say we want to go solve a real problem in crypto, and we want to try to solve the biggest problem. And those were the two things that kind of came to. This was basically what came to mind when we started thinking about it. Is very obviously the biggest problem that we have. It's a little bit dystopian in how we try to solve it, but potentially, if pulled off correctly, can meaningfully progress the space beyond where it is today.
Yeah, I'm very glad we're on this space together, because I think we see crypto in a very similar light, right? It's that I want crypto to be in every person's pocket. Like, I want my family using it, my grandparents using it, and it's not going to really get there if you can get rug pulled or stolen within seconds on on the internet. We really are still in many ways in a very Wild West type of situation, and so. No, I think bringing reputation is a huge part of the of how to solve this, really, right? We're kind of tackling the problem from two different ends. You're building up the area of like what is trusted, what is allowed, and we're finding a lot of the attackers and saying like, hey, let's get rid of them, let's find them, and let's and let's basically flag them so that other users don't get impacted. And for us, it's a very much a game of whack-a-mole. For you, it's like a game of like, how do you bootstrap this whole network and how do you get it to spread to more and more people, right? And so different problems to solve, but like both tackling this issue of like there's lots of scammers in the space and we need to do something about them.
The last insight you had is actually really interesting, and one of the reasons why we started going down the direction of human verification is it is really difficult to now, like, it's actually better now to say these are real people and ignore all the fake people, like, because you have to identify the signal from the noise, and that abundance of noise just continues to grow. And sometimes noise looks like scammers, sometimes noise looks like fake accounts on Twitter sharing fake AI reels and stuff like that. So I like the way that you kind of contrasted two things of like, you're identifying the bad guys kind of, and we're like, well, we have to have people opt in to self-identifying as good guys.
Exactly. But yeah.
So if we have people in here like hearing about Ethos for the first time ever, what would you give them, like a short, brief description for it? Would it be like a social graph or a scoring system, like LinkedIn for Anons, or what would you call it?
Lately I've been kind of trying to lean into the dystopian thing, because as much as people don't want that, it's what clicks. Like, if you've ever seen the Black Mirror episode, it's called Nosedive, and in the episode they like have this score above their head, and the girl, she's trying to build up her score. It's a social credit system. Right. It's a way to say these people are good people of society or these people are bad people. And a very weird episode if you watch the whole thing all the way through, but it helps people understand, like, what if you walked around and you had the score next to your head? And I think a lot of people are very conscious of not making that analogy, because it has been abused in, more less traditional types of government. Where the government is the centralized entity and it is dictating what the social credit score of people are. We're actually taking a completely different route to that, where we do want to put a little score above your head that says how trustworthy you are. But instead of it being from a centralized, entity, it is based on what peers say around you. It is a decentralized system. And we believe that while it sounds dystopian to have this score attached to your name, it's a requirement when you don't know who anyone else is. You have no, like, the bounds of like how people act and operate on the internet are way wider than how they would act in real life. And now that agents can effectively infinitely replicate themselves, you need some way to identify who is human. You need to identify who is a reputable human. And so, as dystopian as it sounds, it's like that is the easiest analogy for me, because it's going to continue to make sense over time that that's the right answer.
Yeah, and I think you're turning into code basically something that kind of exists in the real world already, right? Because you speak among your friends, you speak among your colleagues, and you have little bits of information in your mind about people and what others say about them to know like
Mhm.
roughly how trustworthy is this person, right?
Right.
If you know that, a friend told you that maybe they cheated on an exam, you're like, well, maybe they're slightly less
Mhm.
trustworthy, but that's not that big of a deal. But
Mhm.
then you find out, they cheated on their partner and now that score drops
Right.
significantly, right?
Mhm.
And so you have these little bits of information that float in your like regular like meat space
Mhm.
social network, and that essentially creates this trust score already. It's just not literally displayed and it's less formalized, but it
It's
exists
more
already.
qualitative. It's more
Yeah.
qualitative, less quantitative. And we're trying to make it quantitative so that it is much easier to literally act as a filter, right? Um, the tricky part is like one of the things you described is a very personal view on reputation, which is like you put everything out there about a person and you make your own judgment. And actually, one of the hardest things of ethos is like, well, how do you make that judgment from like a global perspective, right? If 100 people say that they're a bad person because they did X, Y, or Z, there might be other people at the other end that are like, "Well, I don't care that he did that," right? So, I'd like to think the score is the easiest way to look at ethos, so the easiest way to interpret what the credibility score is of someone else. But underneath that is all of the existing data, and you might say, "Oh, well, this guy says something really nice about him, and I respect his voice way more than I respect 1,000, other people that I've never heard of before." And so that qualitative part comes into play too, just like it does in real life.
I'm kind of curious, like, have you looked at all at score? So there's like kind of like one global score from my understanding.
Mhm,
um that I guess kind of creates like this mechanism where like you kind of like if you want to slash, for example, somebody, you're gonna have to let everybody know, but you might not want to let everybody know. In many of these
mhm,
situations, like you really just want maybe somebody within your immediate vicinity to know,
mm.
or also it
Kind
can
of
make
like
you
a
yourself look like an untrustworthy person if you share these kinds of secrets. It's important to share with somebody, but you might not want to let everybody know you've shared it, right?
yeah, it is like such a tricky thing because we've had early on, we had a lot of people that wanted anonymous reviews. And you're like, "Well, what does a review mean if it's not backed by someone else's reputation?" That's the whole point, right? Like, anyone could slander anyone without the reputation that backs what is said. And so it's interesting that you say that because I've never really thought about it from that perspective before, but it makes sense. It reminds me of like an Instagram story where like I only want like my buddies to see
Yeah,
this
like
one.
close friends. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, versus like my parents, right? Or something like that. Um, and that actually is fascinating because it could be beneficial. The only challenge is like everything we have built so far is very much on the like blockchain side of transparency. So it's still possible, right? But I guess then anyone could still either go observe that or take a screenshot of it and say, well, Serpent said this negative thing about this guy. So what I instead try to defer to is honestly the like we try to put information from your circle in front of you when you're looking at a profile, as an example. If you've reviewed people, you're going to see those people at the top of the like profile when you go look at them. So that's like the closest thing, but it is a really
Yeah, at least
interesting
helps
idea.
with the relevance. Yeah, yeah.
Because
You
that's the
also
most
got
important
got
part.
the For You page, right? Where you are just like seeing like the peers interacting with stuff.
Yeah, and that we had kind of hoped that would be like a flywheel for people to connect more, to be honest. And it makes sense. It's how every social media app works, right? You connect with people like on LinkedIn, you connect with someone, then you start seeing their stuff. And what's interesting is like the idea of like reviewing someone or vouching for someone is obviously like a very different signal than like I'm gonna follow, or like following isn't even a connection, right? That's like I could follow someone and completely disagree with everything that they do, right? It is not
People
a
do
signal
that
of
all
trust.
the time. Like I see
Yeah,
some accounts and then I'm wondering like why the hell is person XYZ following them? And then I'm
yeah,
thinking like they are probably following them to see what shady stuff they're up to.
yeah, right. And so it's not a signal of trust at all, right? So then if you really think about it, this idea of like explicitly saying I trust this person, that's not really a thing on the internet. And so we're trying to teach that new behavior to a little bit of like, or even just like, hey, I had a good experience. We did an over the counter deal, or, I've been writing reviews from the Ethos account when people do symbol hunting on Ethos. We give them a reward, but like, why would we not also document that they did that if they're okay with it? And they can now when you go look at it, you're like, wait, should I hire this guy as a simple hunter? You're like, oh, absolutely. Ethos had a good experience with them. So it kind of exists here and there, but not as much on the consumer to consumer front. And like, that's going to be a very important and valuable piece of data eventually.
Yeah. So going back to the pillars of ethos, if you will, is we have like reviews, which are like, hey, I can review like Serpent is a cool guy. We had like this call today. He made like a very friendly, knowledgeable input to me. So that's one thing. Then you can vouch for people, which is like vouching your voice basically with a baked asset, which is ETH right now, correct? And then we have slashing, which is basically trying to lower the score of someone, so you actually like have the perception that the score of someone is too high for whatever they did. So walk us through a slash. So whatever happens,
Yeah.
let's say that we have like a bad actor that got caught doing some shady stuff. What happens on Ethos, or who does like initiate the process of slash?
Yeah, right now we rely on anyone that has over a certain credibility score. They are the only ones that can promote a slash right now. So you have to earn your own credibility. You can't just be a random person. And again, acting as a filter, that ends up working really well. When we lowered that to 1400 one time, and it was like, oh God, there's like so many random slashes. And the idea is that you are denouncing someone to some extent, basically saying they stepped out of line. And that's about as generic as it gets, and we don't add specificity there. Like, it is basically someone stepped out of line. Now, that could mean they rug pulled a project, they screwed me over an over-the-counter deal, they promised me that they were gonna pay me this, and here's all the proof. Usually what it requires is a burden of evidence. I would say people are generally looking for that evidence as they vote, but what happens is that slash gets promoted, and then consensus votes on it. So other reputable people on Ethos look at a slash and try to objectively look at the information, and they vote how they think if the person should be slashed or defended. Now, slashing on its own, if you could just slash anyone, would be bad, because what's the risk? You have to have risk involved. If I go out and denounce someone, like, I need to take risk as well. So right now we mostly have credibility score slashing that's happening, which is I go slash someone for 200 credibility score. I feel like they should get knocked down a level because they stepped out of line in some way. I want consensus to vote on it, but it has to get to 60% approval. 60% of people have to agree for it to go through. If it does not reach 40% approval, meaning it basically swung the other way against you, you lose the credibility score. So you lose 200 credibility score and you create risk on your side. Now, this is all inspired by traditional validation and slashing that happens in proof of stake. The vision, you can go back almost 2.5 years now to me sharing this vision of humans as validators, where you have humans that are staking ETH in each other. And when someone steps out of line, if their credibility is boosted because they have a bunch of staked ETH in them, they can be slashed and lose that money. And that's the idea of economic security, that we want. It's kind of like a path to get there still, but we really want it to be mostly based on economic security, where people are risking money by supporting other people. And that's the ultimate kind of risk that we have in crypto. That's what happens when you buy a token, right? You risk money every time. So hopefully that gives you kind of an idea of how we think about it.
You lose it every time also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Juan,
People are much more risk on there instead of with their social capital.
Like 100%, like I totally agree. Juan, what do you think, like for communities, like from your lens with the communities and growth stuff, like what would be like a good incentive for community members to actually contribute to a greater scale like Ethos is?
Yeah, for sure. I think that having Ethos in place is something really helpful. I see like how users can get like much better understanding of whenever they want to interact with a project or with a founder itself. We have seen a lot of experiences, a lot of cases in the past where like founders, as you mentioned, rack their own projects, or they don't have enough validation, and they do this not only one time, but 2-3 times in a row. And that's because these kind of systems are not spread out so much, and like users get into the FOMO and they don't use this at all, right? So the idea would be how to combat FOMO with a reputation system like Ethos, where users can avoid losing money out of this. Because maybe it's not like a scam as the one like Chain Patrol can detect, because maybe they have like a legitimate company around that, but definitely there is something sketchy that a reputation system can help avoiding getting users lose their money because not trusting enough like the company itself. So yeah, definitely think it's something really, really helpful for the community and growth side of things. And I think definitely it should be something that projects should be required to show more, right? Like, what is the validation of you as founder? What is your experience? Are you just here because you raised like a round and you just make a random product, or you have been here for years providing value to the community and providing value to what you are aiming to build? So I think that's definitely something that we should take more into account whenever we invest and go into making the research of a company that we do, that we interact in general.
I'm kind of curious, like, let's say you're like a founder of a new crypto project, you want to build up credibility, like how should you go about doing that on Ethos? Like, how do you, maybe you're not like, maybe you're semi well connected, maybe you're not that well connected, like what is the path to, like, maybe you want to do a launch, but before you do the launch you'd want to make sure the community can trust you, like how should you go about that?
Yeah, we've had a lot of teams want to do this and try to do this, and it's been working for them. A lot of them do have existing communities, which helps. And so a team might be either launching something or just launched something and want to show to other teams, like, hey, we're credible, we have real users. The reality of trading in crypto is that we look for signals in what other people say. Like, oh, this guy likes Hyperliquid. I like Hyperliquid, right? Well, Ethos can solve that pretty well. And so what we've encouraged teams and we work with teams to do is go activate your community, get your community out there, encourage them to leave honest feedback. You don't ever want to encourage, hey, we'll give you $5 if you write us a positive review. Like, every single platform out there bans that for a good reason. But you want to see that authentic sentiment. And so teams we have seen now are actively trying to build their Ethos scores up, even if it's the founder being like, I have 10 ETH sitting here. I'll go vouch 10 ETH for my project, right? You want to show I'm putting money on the line, man. Like, I really believe in my thing. I want to go build the score up. Here's 10 ETH that I'm putting up against it, right? We do this all the time outside of vouching. Like, we put money into our own companies when we start them. We put our own time into our companies. Like, we have ways of doing these mechanisms already. Now that we have them in a composable way, a very transparent way with Ethos, it makes it easier for other people to go observe that as well. Same thing if you think about like an angel round, like, oh, an angel round, and like, ooh, Vitalik invested in Mega ETH. I got to go after Mega ETH now because Vitalik liked it. I got to like it, right? Like, this is a primitive in the space. And we are encouraging, and we hope to see, like, we'll look 4 or 5 years down the road. Every single project is like, I know that I have to go build my credibility up on Ethos, or for anyone that goes and looks at me. And again, nothing different than what happens in the restaurant industry, right? You have a food truck, it's going to take you a few years. Eventually, the Michelin star guy comes around. You hope you give your best meal that day, and maybe he'll write up that you are a Michelin star restaurant now, right? Then everyone's like, yes, I will go eat at this place. So, like, we're trying to bring those primitives into a more observable and easy to use way. And we're starting to see some success for that on projects, but I really want to continue to push that direction because we need to become the standard, and we're not right now.
Yeah, I actually have one more question. I might be throwing us a little bit off track, but I'm kind of curious if you've looked at the relationship between like projects, like reputation, and auditors. Have you thought about how like auditors might play a part in this? Because
like code auditing or like
like
auditing
code
financials?
auditors, because they kind of have been seen for like at least security. Like, many projects were like gathering up big auditors as basically like stamps
the stamp
on
of
their
approval,
website,
right.
And in a way, like, they're not just trying to get a code audit, they're also trying to get the reputation of that auditor. I don't know if like if you've
Ye-
thought about that at all, or have you
So
gotten them involved in ethos in any way? Yeah.
it's a really good question, and you're making my brain spin in other directions too. But the first thing is like, yeah, that was definitely a thing. Like that was absolutely a thing for a while. If you think about from auditing to again, who are angels, who are investors, like everyone seeks those stamps of approval, and they want to show those stamps of approval off whether they're real or not, right? Sometimes they're like, we have game studio developers from the makers of Modern Warfare and stuff. And you're like, BS, get out of here, man. Right? Like, there's no way. And like auditors a little more serious because with an audit, with a security audit, you're like, we can go look it up on their website, right? You know what's weird though? I haven't seen as much of that in the last couple of years. I feel like people have kind of got shied away from.
It has reduced in its like level of impact for a project.
Yeah, because it just become kind of the expectation. That's how it works, right? The market gets optimized. Um, I haven't really thought about that. I've really wanted to go deeper on reviews for auditors because when you're a brand new team and you're like, wow, I have a smart contract, I'm about to spend $100,000 at least getting my code audited. Who do I trust to audit it, right?
Yeah,
Who
no,
do
that's a
other
good
people
question.
trust? Because there's names out there that you run from when you see this is audited by, I won't say any names, XYZ, and you're like, I ain't touching that, right?
Say it, sir. Say it.
No way. Because the worst part is I'd probably say the one I don't mean, and then I like threw someone under the bus that I didn't need to. But there are definitely names out there that you're like, you run from when you see them. And so the interesting thing though is like that concept of like an auditor stamp of approval is something that would be really fascinating to put onto Ethos. Uh, not from the sense of code auditing, but what if you had someone that was renowned at understanding a project and the function of it and the structure of the team and do they have everything they need to be successful, and they come in and they're like, I approve this company as like they have all the checks and balances in place. They know how to build stuff. They're docs to me, maybe, or I know that they have a real company out there that exists and it's not in, random country. Like that stamp of approval is what we all seek. And it's funny because we started with this really complex score that people value. But at the end of the day, all people really want is the like yes or no. They just want binary, are you trustworthy? Aren't you trustworthy? And it makes sense. That's the level of due
Yeah.
diligence that we're at right now in the space. Though.
I think that'd be useful for like the newer auditors coming up too, because I mean, I was just at Denver and other places, and I've been running into a lot of like new auditors, like people that just made their company like 6
Mhm.
months ago or a year ago, and it's a question of them like, how do you overtake the big guys? Because the big guys already have reputation just off of like people know them, people kind of recognize them,
They were in the right place at
but
the right time, really, right?
yeah,
They were
yeah.
around in the boom.
Yeah, they were there at the very, very good timing. But if you're trying to start a new auditing firm today, it's like how do you get somebody to not just go with one of the big names? Maybe bootstrapping your reputation here would actually help you with that as well.
This is where, yeah, and it's a great point, and that's where I like Ethos is a very long play, right? Like Ethos doesn't just happen today and suddenly people care, but the new companies, the new industries that are formed, the new auditors that appear, they're going to be looking for an edge. And when we work with teams like that, we haven't worked with any auditors, but it's a great idea. Like, yo, you're an auditor. Every team you work with, when you're done auditing, ask them to review you. And then you go take that and you show it everywhere, right? You put it on your website. I'm not inventing anything new, right? Like this is 100% a thing. You walk to a restaurant and you see that it's in the Yelp top 100. You walk and you look at Yelp and you figure out, okay, well, what's the top one? They care about those things because that's how they drive traffic to them. And like as Ethos, like it's this again, it's a really long game, but like over time, every single day we legitimize ourselves more and more, and people consider the Ethos score more and more. And there will be a point in time where we're all looking up and we're like, oh yeah, we looked at the Ethos score first, right? We wanted to see what other people said first. And that already happens on Amazon's reviews, on ZocDoc for doctors. Like it is everywhere. We need it in Web3.
The upside I wanted to add is that the on-chain reputation is probably a lot harder to game than like off-chain reputation. Nikita, so maybe from your point of view, CEO type of stuff. I think like everyone in Web3 can come up with a made-up, hey, this is a review someone gave me, and it never happened. We all know this happens
Well,
like a lot.
we see this with phishing a lot. So what happens with many of these review sites now is they get botted quite heavily now. And so what attackers will now do is they will do something where they will create a bunch of, for example, if they're doing like a pig butchering scam where they are creating a fake company, then to like a fake investment company or something else like that. They'll create it. They'll go and put a bunch of reviews for it on places like I don't know, like Trustpilot, others. That actually helps boost the SEO of the site itself. And if people go search it up, and one of these platforms that shows up in their Google search results, they're like, oh, is this legit? And then on the platform, there's actually those botted replies that say, yeah, totally legit. Like I used it, it looks great. So it's definitely like any platform, I think, that is focused on building trust is going to have to deal with the issue of bots and like AI. How you choose to deal. I'm actually curious to maybe how you're kind of dealing with that right now. Is it like I've used Ethos a little bit, but like I haven't looked at like from an attacker perspective of botting the platform, how I would do it. So yeah, I'm kind of curious if you've experienced any of that.
That is the improvements that we've been shipping over the past year, is basically response to threats, right? My co-founder and CTO, Ben, he's got probably almost 20 years of experience between working on security. I did have a tweet the other day that was pretty funny around the fact that he was the guy that was chasing people down on PokerStars in 2007, 2008. A lot of the crypto, mobsters these days. Ben was the one that was chasing them down, finding them cheating by sitting on Skype together, basically. And Ben and I actually worked on a security product. We were building a new security product before we started Ethos. So security is something we always think about. And we knew that when we built this, like from a security perspective, you're going to have tons of threats all the time. There are always going to be people trying to abuse it. And anyone with any amount of nuance and understanding of how security works, there is no such thing as like 100% prevention. There is only 99.999% prevention, and that's what you achieve to get to. And so with the scores themselves, like fortunately we have a product background. We built products before. We knew you just got to put V1 of the algorithm out there, right? And no matter what we did, it was going to be wrong. And it was absolutely wrong. And over time, as people were interested and cared, they would abuse it. It would be two people exchanging a review for each other, and then they do it in a group of 400 people, and you're like, okay, well, we prevent review for review. We can figure out something. Then they started doing triangle reviews, and you're like, God damn it! Like, what are you guys doing? Like, you know what it says about yourself, right? When you're like abusing a reputation platform, like, why are you doing this, right? But they still did it. The ultimate answer is still economic security. If you can introduce economic security where you add risk, that is going to be the ultimate answer. But we found a number of ways of handicapping people that get up too high, people that like just overuse the product compared to, one of the early objections we had is like, well, ZachXBT isn't the most reputable person on the platform. And you're like, is that actually true? Like, I think ZachXBT is a very credible person. Why do people care about what the rank is of X versus Y? And so, we've spent the last year finding ways to prevent people attacking. If you think about even our invitation system, it's invite only still. Huge deterrent to symbols, right? You literally cannot invite 10,000 wallets to Ethos. There's no way. That is a huge, there's a massive advantage to doing that.
Yeah, no, that's a good approach.
Yeah, but then we add risk. So if I invite you and you get slashed, I lose credibility score, right? If I invite you and you invite a bunch of symbols and you turn out to be a bad actor yourself, even just without getting slashed, I lose credibility score because we have a bond between each other. And the funny part is half the users, they don't even care. They don't even think about it. The other half the users, they treat it very seriously. Like, oh shit, I should not invite that guy. Cause what if he does something bad? I'm really thoughtful about it. And yeah, like I'd like to think that we've built this really robust system that has improved. In fact, we haven't really written any improvements for it in a couple months now because we feel pretty good about where the scores are.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like in the early days of X, especially in Web3, we were like looking at Twitter accounts, we were like judging by followers or even
Right.
judging by profile pictures. When I like did my first cleanup on my account, I found so many profile pictures from Lazy Lions or Bored Ape profile pictures that I just
Mhm.
followed for the sake of being like a profile picture of a Bored Ape. You thought like, hey, this guy must be credible. Yeah, my ass in 2026. So yeah, where's actually like the line? Where would you say, Serpent, is the line between holding people accountable and like turning into a witch hunt? Because it can go from one extreme to the other, obviously, real fast. Where do you think, like personally, is the line to be drawn? Where yeah, someone did something bad, but it shouldn't turn out to be like, I don't know, like a doom and gloom for them or whatever.
I would argue that the line is drawn with consensus as opposed to, it can sound like consensus can sound like a mob, but it's not. Mobs are often formed within people that have like-minded thoughts and operate with each other and interact with each other all the time. And it does happen on Ethos. But when it comes to a slash vote, and you look at all of the people that are on Ethos that are from all sorts of different backgrounds culturally, all sorts of different backgrounds in how they trade and what they focus on. Some are soul trench meme guys, like some are literally just farmers. They like only farm all day, every day. You get better consensus because you kind of remove the like selection bias of a mob from a slash. And I can't say that it's foolproof, but I can say that I feel pretty good about the last year of slashes. We're at like 380 slashes. I would say there are maybe 3 or 4 that I personally felt like went the wrong direction because of something like mob mentality or because, the people that supported them had too much power on the platform. But for the most part, trying to be as objective as I can, it's working. Consensus as a mechanism does work, right? And social consensus is a real thing too. It is literally a part of the defense of Ethereum. When Vitalik says we're forking and going this direction, everyone agrees, right? Because it's Vitalik. And even if it's not even if we call it decentralized, it's not because there's social consensus. And if Ethereum has to have a hard fork, the resolution criteria is basically social consensus. Which fork are we going to take as society? So like it's not unusual, and we're not reinventing anything there either. And it's been really cool to be able to like, I feel like we have proof now that it does work in preventing the like full on mob mentality pitchforks out kind of thing.
Nikki, that's actually interesting for Chain Patrol. I think when you think about the use case that you guys are using with the brand protection, like every impersonation attack, I would say, like is banking off of that credibility fact, right?
Yeah, I think that's something that what we're seeing is that, I mean, I think there's two things to think about when it comes to reputation and brand and how this all kind of interacts. One is definitely like people try to abuse credibility, right? Like, and so I think even just being able to see like, is this the real account? I think I hope more and more people have like the ethos, like an ethos kind of like overlay on their Twitter and like other places, because that would help a ton in understanding, is this the real account with a real score, or is this like an impersonation account? Because that's one of the things we deal with really the most. It's just like somebody reaches out to you, they pretend to be from a certain organization, they either pretend to be the brand account or they pretend to be like, support at some company, and they just impersonate them and, basically, just use that to steal tons and tons of money. So like, I think like organizations can come on and have a reputation score, and even like there was like an affiliation mechanism where you could see like, is this person officially part of this organization or not? Like this kind of stuff would help significantly. You'd of course still have to get the distribution out there to make sure everybody, all the end users use it. But the more people you get to use this, the more I think we can actually protect users from phishing attacks. The other tricky thing that comes to all of this is compromised accounts, right? I don't know if you have like an emergency like plug you can pull or something
We've
else.
wanted to. We talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the other thing that we're starting to see a lot now. And I'll pass to you in a sec, but like that's a thing that we're seeing a ton is like people's telegrams are getting hacked. You get that telegram hacked, it spreads to all your friends. They get on a call, they get with somebody that looks like you, is deepfaked of you, or they get you to download something, and then it's just like contagion, right? And it starts spreading from real account to real account. That's what they're real. Before, the attackers would primarily go after just your crypto when they've hacked you, but now they go after your crypto and your Telegram basically, because they know if they get that, they can get to their next batch of victims. And so that's like one thing you need to have some ways, like, I don't know, an emergency pull the plug, or some way of even just saying like telling everybody, hey, like I've been hacked.
Yeah,
maybe a label would be good, Serpent. Like I don't know, like a live label with hacked or caution or something like that.
So you know what's funny about what Nikita just said is like I totally agree, but how do you know that the person that says that they're hacked is actually not the hacker, right? So if someone is not compromised, but someone else is claiming that they are, which like there's not a lot of incentive for doing so, but like even verifying the identity of a second account can be hard sometimes.
Yeah. So I a long time ago I built this is actually how Chain Patrol started. I built this thing called like Burn My Wallet, which is interesting. It was based on an idea of like putting like a soulbound token into your wallet, saying like this wallet is hacked, right? Because like because your Ethos account does have like a key.
It has yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so even if the hacker has gained access to your account, it doesn't actually prevent you from still issuing transactions, right? So
in most cases, right, it's just like there's so many like I have heard of people who lose access to their 1Password and the laptop, and the hacker
if you don't have access to your key, you're screwed at that.
You're screwed.
You're completely screwed.
Yeah, but it's your own fault, to be honest.
Yeah, but if you do have your key still, then maybe Ethos can have like a kind of like a kill switch, you know?
Like, especially if it was driven by consensus, I think, right? Like if it's like an 25 people out of 30 people agree kind of thing. Like this account looks like it's compromised and 25 out of 30 people agree with it.
That's an interesting thought.
You got the validators for that, Serp?
Yeah, validators could do that job. Yeah, because validators are really like our trusted network of
the like, barrier is higher than just like normal users with a certain score. If you have like a validator voting going on, like the human verification thing, if like 3 validators agree, or 5, call it whatever you want, agree on, hey, this looks hacked, flag it for X, Y, Z amount of time.
You guys can't give me product ideas. We go back to the engineering team, they're like pissed at me. It's a good idea. We've talked about it. People have used slashing for it in the past, which is not a good idea because then they lose credibility. The benefit is that when someone's getting slashed, like in our Chrome extension, it's like live slashing. Like this guy's getting slashed. You better watch out whatever's going on. So yeah, I've liked that idea. We've also kind of wanted to and thought about the more community nodes driven route of like, what if consensus could add additional details to a message, right? Like the disclosure thing before Nikita Beer tried to start shutting down a bunch of the stuff with disclosures on X, right? And what if it was like you could flag it as probably needs to be disclosed, and then it's like 100 people agree that this was probably not disclosed. Like
that's a great topic, Serp, and I wanted to touch on that next. So let's be honest, like let's create a scenario where someone that has like a pretty high reputation on Ethos, and he starts like acting maliciously, or he gets caught doing like some weird stuff, let's say, like forgets to disclose ads and stuff like that. I've seen you ask people for disclosure, and I'm not gonna name any names for these accounts, but I know at least 2 of them that didn't disclose, or only after you told them, hey, is this like a paid promo, and it didn't disclose it, and nothing happened on Ethos.
Like
Zeneca are we too lazy? Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
one of them.
Yeah. Are we too lazy is a good question. I do think that it ends up going back towards like the reflection of the person overall. If you look at Whale Swoosh, or Wale, some people call him Wale. I have no idea what the right name is. Unfortunately. Whale. Okay. Yeah.
He's German, so probably.
There you go. So there were a lot of people that felt like he was promoting things undisclosed, and it felt like the dam kind of broke whenever Oh, he didn't disclose Trove, which was a elaborate rug. Like that's what pushed people over the limit, and he ended up getting slashed for doing that. Um, I kind of look at it as people are kind of mentally keeping like a strike system in their head. They're like, all right, like I think Zeneca is a great person. I've talked Zeneca invested in Ethos. I like him a lot. I think he has the best interests of other people, but he is happy to take disclosure, like take payments to promote stuff too. And in that particular example, he didn't. And like we're getting to a space where like you got to be careful now, right? Because that could be strike one for a lot of people on his stuff. And next thing, like if Zen posted something tomorrow and ended up being a rug, he might get slashed. Like, that might have been the thing that sets people over. Now, he has a lot of good reputation already, but, like, that could be the thing that puts him over the edge. And, so, I don't think it's that we're too lazy yet. I think that one of the most, like, potent energies in this world is people's anger towards like, oh, I can't believe you made more money than me, or I can't believe you tried to rug all these people, or I can't believe you're promoting something. You got to follow the rules, man. Right? Like, I do believe that we activate people well that way, and we have become the de facto answer for like anger in the space, good and bad. But I would say like I don't think people are being too lazy. I think people are watching a lot closer now, and the disclosure one is so interesting because there should be no reason that anyone should have angst about someone taking money to promote something. The only time you should be angry about someone trying to promote something is if they are trying to do so without telling you that. If they are knowingly doing it. And YouTube has had a content policy for over a decade, I think, of disclosing it. It's not a big deal. Everyone expects it. At the beginning of the YouTube video, you see this includes a paid promotion. That's it. It's done, right? I watch streams every day that have paid ads. Come on. Why like it's not a big deal. The issue is when you promote something, it looks like you also promote a bunch of other stuff that you don't get paid for. It looks authentic and it's not, right? Because you're kind of putting your own sentiment out there of like, hey, I really like Trove. Like, I'm investing in Trove. And you're like, no, those guys ended up rug pulling people, right? Like you want people to trust you when you are sharing something that is authentic. And the real gap today in content is authenticity. There's nothing wrong with taking money to promote something. If you do it inauthentically and don't disclose it, that's where people have an issue.
One just interesting point on that is I think because of the way certain X posts are being flagged as if you choose to put that it's a paid promotion, I think uBlock and some of these other anti-ad extensions were actually removing those posts from your feed entirely.
They do.
Really?
Because they were
do.
treating them the same way as like you would treat an
Like
ad.
an ad. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's an interesting thought of like,
Ooh, that
is
is
that an
interesting.
ad?
I'm
Is that
using
not an ad?
Brave,
Is
and
that
I'm using
you?
Brave on mobile, and
Yeah.
you cannot see like the OP. You see someone replying to something, but the context is like totally missing because you cannot see the OP because the OP was an ad.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I think actually, like, if you think about like a YouTube content creator, they can make money by having like generic ads run before, after, during, right? But a lot of people buy YouTube Premium too, so they don't see those ads. The money is in sponsorships. Like everyone knows the money's in sponsorships. And the sponsorships, if done correctly, like a content creator can do an amazing job of making it feel like it's really
part of the
organic.
content, and it's
Yeah,
fun,
it's
yeah.
yeah. Like my daughter likes watching something about aquariums right now, and like they do such like sometimes they advertise Shopify, and you're like, okay, I kind of get it, but like other times it's just like really generic stuff. Like you go to this guy's fish site. This is where I buy fish from, and it has paid promotion in there. You're like, why would I care? Right? Like, yeah, I might go buy fish from that place. Like, it just
Perfect target audience, I guess.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's the beauty of it. It's like it sucks because there is a bad rap against people using disclosures, and like I've never paid for anyone to ever promote Ethos or talk about Ethos because I want organic coverage. I don't want paid coverage. I think paid coverage in crypto is actually not a signal in a lot of cases, but let those guys earn money, right? We should set our precedent that like they're going to promote stuff. That's just part of the life cycle of any business is you promote stuff people have advertising money. They want to get it in front of eyes. That's what they pay for. It's just part of life.
Yeah, we got like 10 minutes left on the show, so I want to drive slowly towards the end. So we already come to conclusion that you guys both are trying to solve like kind of the same bigger problem. I think like Ethos is trying to answer like, is this person credible? And Chain Patrol is basically doing like, is this account or site or person like a legit person that you're talking to? So Nikita, when I think about it, like, could an account that you guys flag at Chain Patrol for like impersonating or phishing campaigns, etc., could that be like signal fed into Ethos?
Yeah, no, I definitely think something like this can be done. Like, we should probably build that out, to be honest. Like, because I think for anybody using the extension or anything else like that, like, or any sort of overlays that pull from Ethos, this could be useful. Like, our goal is like to spread this data as far and wide as possible. Like, how our model works is like, the brands pay us for protection. We don't charge anything for the data. Like, for the data side of things, our goal is like spread it to as many integrations as possible. Like, we send it to like phishing attacks, like it goes into MetaMask and other places, so that if somebody clicks the website link, you get a big red warning. Yeah, so definitely something we that could be interesting to do. And the other thing too is like our goal is to like take down these accounts eventually fully, so they get fully suspended. And we work with like Twitter or X on this. We work with other socials, but they do take a while. So they can take anywhere from a few hours to a few days to remove one of these accounts. So if there was something in place before then that was kind of showing, hey, this account is malicious, or there's a warning on this account, we'd be happy to put up our stake. Our false positive is also very, very low. Like, our false positive rate is very low, so that yeah, I think there's an interesting incentive mechanism there also to keep us honest on how we're flagging these accounts.
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to provide any and all information that we can to users, and we look at stuff like wallet transaction history. We look at so your social and how you're connected with who there. Any piece of information is valuable to us. It's likewise, all of our information could be just as valuable to you guys. And
exactly.
It's funny because like when you think about crypto partnerships, sometimes people are like, yeah, I partnered with blah blah blah, and like, what does this even mean? And you're like, a real partnership is like two people have something that is mutually beneficial to each other's party, and you're like,
you guys have that.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Like, we talked to a lot of other teams too that have the same thing. Like, oh, you guys need to like filter out symbols, or you need to you need to find real humans. Like, pretty much a no-brainer, right? It's like, that's how businesses actually work, man. Like, you solve a problem for someone else. So, anyways, yeah.
Nice. Well, there'll be a part 2 to this afterwards.
Definitely.
Before we wrap up, I have like the last segment was future of reputation. I guess we're gonna shift that to another episode. But just like a quick run up from you guys, and Nikita, we have talked about this in the previous 13 episodes probably with AI, and AI is basically making these systems inevitable because we need them, because it's actually like it's becoming impossible to trust content online. And I find it especially interesting on X because like bots can post by themselves. We all know that. We all see that in the comments of accounts. Like the first 50 comments on big accounts are all just AI slop. And it's actually like pretty hard for me to spend time on looking at replies. For example, I used to read a lot of replies, but nowadays it's just like, where's the point of reading replies when with 90% of it is AI? So just my general question to you guys, maybe the three of you, do you think like AI will make the systems even more valuable that Serpent and others are building?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. I think there's going to be a lot of demand for, like a human only social media, or at least a feed, like a filter on your feed that says like human content only. I think people would like that. Like, replies for me on X right now are basically unusable. The feed is not too bad, I would say, but the replies I don't open anymore, really. I still sometimes do out of just force of habit of like, oh, I want to see what people say, and every time I've opened it, I'm like, this isn't it, So that's just my personal experience, but I've heard it from a bunch of others as well. So I think there's something that needs to be still solved there. I think, say, having a filter that says human replies only would help. How you're going to verify that, that's a whole other question, because there's lots of people now that will just, give their auth token over to their Claude bot, and then it's posting on their behalf, right? And so then...
Okay, I have a really good answer to this. Okay, I
Okay.
promise. And it's full circle for the whole conversation. I believe that the human element is only like 10% of the equation. It's actually reputation that drives it. And you can have a human that hands their like a real human that's been verified as human. They scan their eyeball, they use Ethos as human verification, whatever. They hand their token over to a Claude bot and they're spam replying. Well, you need some way to negatively signal that
Yeah.
they're annoying, right? Or that they're a pain in the ass, right? You're never going to know, oh, how much AI generated content is this, or are they actually typing it? And like trying to even understand if they like literally hit the keystrokes or not is just like a waste of time. It's reputation. Reputation solves it. And I've been like, when I see those, I literally write them a negative review on Twitter. I'm like, this guy replies instantly to all of my tweets. Like, get off of my feed, bro. And it's helpful. And he could still be a human, but like reputation is the real answer to that. So are you spamming the like town hall effectively?
That's good. That's true. And then you wouldn't even mind if it's an AI reply, if it's actually good.
If it's
Maybe
good.
they're
Yeah,
actually good quality.
AIXBT has one of the highest reputation scores on Ethos. There are loads of people that love
That's
AIXBT.
interesting.
He posts like fucking crazy. He's got vouchers. They have people. He has his own reputation market. People can speculate on his reputation. Like AIXBT, great example, has had reputation for 16 months on Ethos, basically. So
Nice.
yeah. But hopefully that's a good full circle moment
Yeah,
of like,
yeah.
Also, to add on top of that, Serb, I remind you one more time that you're going to be having a human verification session.
Yeah, you're right. In an
the
hour.
Ethos Discord in an hour, yeah. Because Ethos just like, they introduced a system where you have to have 3 validators verify that you are a human, and then you get this little badge. So you can verify you are human. I already can, so too bad that Serpent only got to know me today on the stream, but for everyone else,
wait, did you get verified as human already?
Yeah,
Surely.
I am.
Yeah, okay.
I am,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. It is funny. So I've been doing these sessions. All it is like you need to talk with someone that's a validator, so someone that's like pretty well aligned with Ethos, and you either meet them in real life, you get on a video chat, or you talk with them in voice. And we'll do these sessions where like people just come on, and it's pretty obvious sometimes. Like there are times when I feel very uncomfortable verifying someone as human, because I'm like, I'm sure you're a real person, bro, but like, I'm not taking the risk on my personal score to say you're human when maybe you're running a Sybil ring of 100 accounts. Like, you can just tell. It sounds so dumb, but you can just tell when you talk to them. And it's been a really cool way to actually connect with people and feel like meeting people from places in the space I would have never met otherwise. So it's been fun. I like that part.
It's interesting. I got 2 invites left to Ethos, by the way. So Nikita, I don't think you're on there. Chain Patrol has one review, and guess who wrote the review for Chain Patrol?
You got to build up that score, man.
Yeah,
I was.
I'm getting down there right now.
I was.
Well, I can also go add some reviews and stuff. So there you go.
There you go. Nice, man. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah.
Crypto moves fast, but trust breaks faster, I would say,
There you
as
go.
a wrap up. Everyone stay safe. Serpent, thank you for the time. Nikita, Juan, we're gonna see us next week. And Serp, I'm pretty sure you're gonna be back on one of these
Oh,
episodes.
for sure. Yeah, happy to.
See
Nice.
you.
Thanks for joining, and
Thank you.
yeah, goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thanks.
Hello.